Welcome to the space between heaven on earth. This is a companion podcast to Awakening Heaven on Earth, created as a space for reflection, conversation, and lived experience. Here, we enter the pause between knowing and becoming, between insight and embodiment, between heaven and earth. These conversations are not about answers or conclusions. They are about presence, about listening, about reasoning together, about meeting one another honestly in the unfolding journey of awakening. I'm your host, Sherri Keys. Again, welcome and thank you for entering the space between with us. Welcome to this episode of The Space Between Heaven and Earth. I'm Joel Aylor, your host, and I'm joined today by my son Joel and my dear friends Dermody and Sherri Keys for a reflective conversation on the spirit of unity, the subtle, the unseen presence that really connects self, other, earth, and source. Together, we're going to explore what it means to experience unity, not merely as an idea, but as a living spirit expressed through awareness, compassion, creativity, and shared humanity. We're going to draw from our personal experiences rather than doctrine or dogma. This conversation is designed to invite you, the listener, to notice the quiet presence that animates and connects and softens what we perceive to be separation. This episode offers us an invitation to breathe deeply, just take it in slowly, and recognize that unity is already alive within and around us. So in our most recent episodes here, we've explored unity in a lot of different forms. We have talked about unity with God, unity with the self, unity with others, with the earth, and unity as it's expressed through the body. Now, today we're going to turn to something that's even more subtle, probably more difficult for people to grasp, and that is the spirit of unity. We'll talk a lot more about that and why. Why would it be something more subtle, something more difficult? We're not going to talk about this as a belief system. We're not talking about this as a concept. We just want to touch on the fact that this is the animating presence that runs through everything, absolutely everything. So all the different traditions, the sacred traditions that we talk about from time to time, have a word that they use to express this idea of spirit. It could be breath, it could be life, it can be energy, it could be awareness, consciousness, something that moves through and connects all things. It's the glue. I kind of like to think of it as the glue of unity. How do we stay unified? We do it through this glue, the spirit. So with that, I want to invite Joel, Sherri, welcome. Glad to have you guys with us again this week. And I'm going to ask each one of you to share, when you hear the phrase, the spirit of unity, what arises inside you? Is it a feeling? Is it a memory? Is it a way of seeing?
For me, when I hear the spirit of unity, I don't think of something that's added to life. I think of it as something that's already moving through it, like breath. It's invisible, but it's undeniable. It's there. It feels less like a concept and more like something that becomes noticeable when I stop resisting connection with others. It feels like the quiet intelligence that's behind relationships.
It makes me think of a almost like a family reunion, a get together. There's music playing. It's a party. It's a carnival. It's everybody is enjoying themselves. We are together. It's a vibe, right? We're one.
I like that
Yeah.
word vibe. I was at the Oktoberfest in Munich, and we were actually at one of my absolute favorite beer gardens in the entire world. It's one of my favorite places in the world, the Augustiner Keller in Munich. And we're sitting there with another couple who joined us that morning and having really great conversation. To your point, we were having this really great conversation. It was just really moving. You could feel the energy among all of us in this discussion. And the one lady stopped and she looked at me in the eye and she said, "I love your vibe." And I'm like, okay, well, what's that really mean? What's she telling me? And I think that's the essence of what we're really talking about is we give off this unseen energy or vibe. And is it a unifying energy or is it a separating energy? Is it divisive or is it uniting, right? Is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant kind of a feeling? So
that's kind of the beauty of Oktoberfest is that Gemütlichkeit that they celebrate, that feeling of togetherness and friendship and warm, cozy feelings that the English language doesn't have a word for. It's just a feeling and a knowing that you get into that energy when you're there with everybody.
Yeah, it's contagious in many ways, right? And so I love that the concept of a vibe. It really is a feeling, an energy. Vibe meaning vibration, right?
Absolutely.
And frequency. Sherri?
I guess when I think of it, I kind of think of a vision, right? Of just feeling like you're in this place, like and what I can just closely think about is a church setting, and you're just there, and you just get this feeling. You get this. Everybody's like enjoying something together. Like it's just without any prior knowledge of anyone's past or cultures or anything. We're all just like together in this moment, being moved in very similar ways. We have blinders on to everything else that exists in the world, except for what is uniting us at that moment. It feels like love, like it's a feeling for me, right?
That's beautiful. You know it. A lot of times in those church services you're talking about, you've heard people say, "Oh, the Spirit is strong," or "Oh, the Holy Spirit is here." Same expression, different words.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit's present with us. And you're in the now,
Yeah.
right? You're totally in that moment, which is heaven. Heaven is in this present moment. Just like right now, this conversation is heaven. And being in it and in this moment and not letting anything in front of us, ahead of us, behind us, focus is on the now. And you can feel the Spirit moving. Yeah, Christianity calls that the Holy Spirit. And that's such a difficult concept to really pin down.
Well, we think of it as something almost outside of us that has to kind of like all of a sudden just come into the room and just flow around us.
Well, it does, though, doesn't it?
Doesn't it bubbling up from the inside?
Yeah. It comes from inside and expresses out from me and you, but then I feel you. So it does come from out.
Sure.
Right? You get that inside out experience. It's not just an internal thing. It is an external thing. And I think that is so to Sherri, your point about church or ecclesia, which is the Greek word that's translated from, means assembly. An assembly. When you're together with other people and you're sharing that Spirit, it just vibrates. It truly vibrates. You can feel it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's strong. I mean, when it hits you, to your point, you're in that moment, and it's just very strong. And you really do feel like, I mean, we're all unified in this one feeling. You feel like we're in this moment, right, together. Yeah, it's when I think of it, that's what I kind of grasp to, is that feeling I've had at that moment in my life.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you wonder, can we translate that same experience and feeling outside of a religious description or connotation? Can you have that same experience without it being a religious ceremony or a religious thing? Could it be at work? Can it be at home in your family? Can it be in what different places?
I felt that same energy at a really good rock show or any kind of music. I mean, anytime music is involved, you can really feel the unity come together. Everybody feels that same energy coming out of the music, and you sit in that moment. And that's the power of music, is it brings you into the now. You're not waiting for the ending. You're on the journey of that song. You're not sitting there waiting for the climax or for the last note. You're literally in the moment the entire way through. And when you are together with other people in that same moment, the power of it can be impressive.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad, as part of this overall experience we're creating through this Awakening Heaven on Earth platform, that music is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely puts you in the moment. And it's funny because I'm less concerned personally about how the music is created. What's important to me about the music is that it exists, and the message and the feeling that it generates. That's what's important to me, more than anything else. All right, so as we move now further into this and into the actual reflection questions, I want to make sure we clarify and set the intention here that this isn't for us. We're not coming to a conclusion or explaining what the spirit of unity is. We're expressing in our own words and thoughts and experience, and then opening this up to you as you listen to come to your conclusions and ideas around what the spirit of unity is to you. It is to notice where this unifying spirit already feels alive within our life and our experience, in breath, in awareness, in relationships. Unity often shows itself to us with less certainty and more as a presence, right? It's one of those things that's really hard to prove, because to me, spirit can't be seen, but you can feel it. You see evidence of it, right? Which is that presence that is made manifest through different ways. So let's start with our first reflection question, where we're going to kind of focus on spirit as breath. Again, we talked about earlier, most sacred traditions relate spirit to breath, which is why we have meditation, why we have breathing practices, and we have all these different things. So what happens when I simply notice my breath, shared air moving in and out, and consider that every living being, every living thing participates in that exchange?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in just that little bit there. But the beauty of the breath is it's extremely grounding when you pay attention to it. That's kind of the gist of meditation. And especially when you're first learning about meditation, they tell you to focus on the breath. And that really brings you into the moment, into the now. And you start to hear it inside your own body. You can actually hear it with your own ears. Moving within you, you can feel it going in, you can feel it coming out. It really grounds you into the body and into that moment. And I think that's powerful. But when I notice my breath, I'm reminded, that, like you said, it's shared. It's not mine. It's shared air, and it's exhaled by trees, other people. We're all in the midst of it. And it's hard to maintain the illusion of isolation when you look at it that way. When you're literally breathing in what the earth and others have breathed out, how can you say that you are not all connected? Thich Nhat Hanh is a Tibetan monk that basically said breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness. And if you sit with that, that's pretty powerful. Basically, you can be completely aware of how connected we are just by focusing on the breath and thinking about your breath.
And then there's even more when you stop to think about, how did the air come into being in the first place? It had to be, the conditions had to be exactly right to even have the correct mixture to support our life to even be here on Earth. So the creator had to put it here and to create the whole cycle that you just explained to between us and the plants. And it brings a whole new dimension even to that. Honestly, I don't think about it a whole lot. Just like most people, when we breathe in and breathe out, it's a personal process with our own bodies. And I'm pretty sure most people don't think about the whole everything that's going on and the shared experience of breathing. Most people don't even think about what goes on when we take a breath internally with our lungs and how we get the oxygen to the muscles and then, individually inside. And then how do we share that air with everybody else? And there's so much that happens when we just take a breath. You're right. And I haven't thought about it in that aspect at all, to tell you the truth, until just now when we were sitting here talking about it. But it's immense, just the act of a breath from one person, and then we're doing it with billions of people when sharing it with so many other creatures on this planet, not just humans. Everything is breathing. The whole world, the whole planet is breathing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So so it's very abstract, right? So I would agree with Joe. Like, as you're sitting back thinking about it, you're not thinking about it, right? You're not thinking that every last one of us, are sharing this very special thing that allows us on this earth to continue to live. People don't usually, we never focus on that. We never focus on the amount of the breath. To me, is as we're breathing, it's like it's an energy force. So everything that, so if we're really focusing on like what goes in and what goes out, we're releasing a certain tone of energy to the universe and people around us. And I feel like if there was a way to touch people in a way, to show not only that we share in this very critical common thing that with everybody, every living creature, that would be a good foundation of how we all begin to understand how we are more alike than we are different. It definitely is an awareness. If we were very aware of how we're breathing and how that is a shared thought, then we would also understand how moving the things that we take in and take out really impact the people around us and how we reflect and how we see each other and how we share and how we unify. Yeah, that's pretty deep concept. Now I've got to start paying more attention to that because I have not really dug that deep. So,
Well, what all of you are saying is we tend to do this unconsciously. And what we're trying to do here is make this more conscious, be more aware. And what really strikes me about this particular description of spirit as breath is that, in the Christian traditions, and even in all Judeo-Christian teachings, they teach that God breathed into man the breath of life. Whose breath is it? Breath is God. It's the presence of God in you. If you want to connect to God, connect to your breath. It just use a syllogism, right, to come to that conclusion. If God is my breath and I want to connect to God, I have to connect to my breath because it's the most obvious part of me that lets me do that. So what we've been saying is that in most cases, most people, all of us, are unconscious of God within us because we're not conscious of our breath.
To your point, so that's where they get the term Yahweh. It was the sound of breathing in and breathing out.
You're right. And there's another word. It's in Hebrew. It's ruach, which is spirit. And just the name is how you breathe. Ruach, right? It's interesting because as You look at many traditions, they do the same thing, clearing breath. It's a resonant breath. Our Reiki teacher was talking about exhale in a way that you hear it, right? That it's clearing, that you can or that's the very presence of God. And you hear it now, not just feel it, you hear it when you make that noise. You just gave something that is typically not visible an ability to be sensed. Interesting. Oh, this conversation has already been absolutely worth the time and energy. So again, here we have something that's very unconscious in most of our experiences. I love the point, Joel, you make about how meditation really is designed for us to reconnect with God in that way of connecting to our breath. That's why most all meditation practices begin and end with breathing specific exercises. And I find that to be one of the most powerful practices. In our Living Heaven on Earth series, this last series, and we're getting now into some of the actual practices, and one of them is centering breath. Centering breath. How do I center myself? Well, I do it by connecting to my breath. Now, where is your breath in your body? Where is it being processed in your body physically? In your lungs, which are in, the core of your being. And it helps center you when you do that. Oh, beautiful. I love this so much. Let's go on to our next one. So this is where we start thinking of the spirit of unity as a felt connection. Have there been moments when you feel deeply connected to others, to nature, or to something that's bigger than yourself without needing to have it be explained to you? You just feel it.
Yeah, it can happen a couple different ways. I mean, I can feel it usually when I'm in silence, in meditation. I can feel a deep spirit of connection, deep conversation like this one. I can feel the unity of the spirit between us. Being in nature, for sure. I mean, obviously that's very grounding. It reconnects you and you get your energy levels back in sync. But like I mentioned before, when it comes to like being with people to listen to music, to me there's so much power behind music, and if you allow it to just fully, if you allow yourself to fully absorb it, you can be very, very powerful. And I can feel most connected with a lot of people when in those times. I can feel the energy of an immense room when all these people are enjoying the same thing. We start to resonate at the same frequencies and just absorb the whole experience. So it's not always, a dramatic thing. Sometimes it's subtle, but and it's definitely an experience within yourself if you allow it to come in. So.
I agree that I feel it also when I meditate, and at concerts they've also they hit you hard when you're really at those those big group events like that, all sharing the same experience, especially when the music hits and everybody's jumping around. It's absolutely. I felt it during our Reiki training because it's kind of like a group meditation. And it felt fantastic because you're all experiencing the same thing. On the other side of it, I have also felt it at a funeral. We're there with family, with friends. You're experiencing the same thing. It's not always a pleasant thing, but you're still there together and you're experiencing the same thing. It's not always it's not great, but you're there for each other. And when again, it's not a good vibe, but vibe is still there. I've also had times too, you're with good friends, you're out doing things. We've gone camping. You're out in the woods. We're having a fantastic time there as well. You're around a campfire and you're reminiscing about things, especially if you haven't seen these friends for a while. and just once you're in that zone, you're in that, again, I know I'm going to use it a lot today probably because of what we're talking about, but that vibe, you start resonating at that same vibration, and it's amazing what happens. We've sat around campfires. We do this almost every time this core group of friends gets together, and we start reminiscing, and it's just a fantastic feeling because you know that you're connected at that point, and everybody is remembering the same thing. You can almost see it in each other's face as you start talking about things, and that light bulb comes on as everybody connects to that same moment that we shared. Reminded me I need to call these people and get together again. But yeah, there's definitely times when they hit.
I think that we experience it all through everything we do in life. Is just not something that we are very conscious of, right? Until now, until this discussion, you don't realize that you're having these connections or these experiences, these acts of unity, these things that we're sharing, and they're happening. For me, I feel like they happen through different aspects every day of my life, even from work to personal experiences. Last night, I had an aunt that turned 88, and so we got together to celebrate that with her, with family members, honestly, cousins that I haven't seen in years. So we all were laughing because we're much more mature now, but we were laughing about just things, remembering different moments and times, and that we all shared, and really just, it was a beautiful thing. So I think it happens throughout every time we embark in different things or different activities. We're just, as beings, not really conscious of it, aware of it. So that's my perspective.
I'm going to go a little different direction in that sometimes I feel people and they're not near me. We're not in a room together. We're not in a physical location together, but I feel them. And typically when that happens and they come into my mind, they come into my thoughts, it's an indication I need to contact them, or they're getting ready to contact me. And that happens. Y'all think of somebody sometimes, and next thing I know, I get a text or you get a phone call. And so I was just thinking about you. Well, I don't know, how did that happen? Hey, well, that's how it happens, is through that shared connection. And I have that same, I believe that same thing exists or is available to us even with our loved ones who've passed, people who have left this physical plane but are still very much alive, their spirit as we are. And I think we have the ability to feel them and feel the connection with them that we've always had. In most cases, though, when we feel certain things, again, I believe what we're feeling, we're unconscious to it. We're not aware of it. We experience it, but can't explain it. And a lot of times I think that is that connection with a living presence, a living spirit that may not physically be within my space. So I see this and feel this beyond. And I think that's what, part of our spiritual senses are claircognizance, spiritual knowing, and clairsentience, which is spiritual feeling. And when you feel, you can feel somebody else. You can feel their presence, and they aren't even there physically. That is a strong, a deep connection. When I think about this concept, even though we appear to be separate, even if we're in the same room with each other, we appear to be separate to each other, when in reality, we're connected by the very air between us. That just because we can't see the air connecting us, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's there. And we are connected through that air. We breathe that same air.
So I think spirit is what kind of unifies it, because everything else is basically sense. It's our five senses, and those five senses are meant to give us a feeling of separation and individualism. I am my body, you are yours, but the spirit is where it all connects. Those elements.
That's why I like to call it the glue. It's the glue,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Of unity. It's what holds everything together.
It's like the field.
Right. A lot of people will describe it as an ocean, right? The ocean, and we're waves in the ocean, but the waves are not separate from the ocean. They're a part of the ocean. They're an individual expression of ocean, and they're temporary. But when the wave goes away, visibly, it's not gone. It's just reabsorbed back into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The spirit's what makes the I the we.
Yes. So, you were making a comment about earlier, before we actually came on to do this recording, we were talking about the I am statements we make. And that is where you as an individual processing your experience or talking as an individual being. But if we make I am statements collectively are we are.
Right.
So we have to be careful then when we say, well, we are this or we are that, because that manifests itself in many ways, just like I am statements manifest themselves. Who do you think you really are? And are you really that? Mm-hmm. So pretty awesome. So let's touch on creativity and flow. I love questions about this. So when have you experienced a sense of flow or inspiration or creativity that felt much, much larger than you as an individual or your individual effort?
For me, it always comes at the strangest times. It comes in the middle of the night. It's between 2 and 4 in the morning a lot of times. And it keeps me awake while I sit and think about everything that comes flowing in. And obviously that happens for a reason. I think that's when we're the most receptive, because our senses have shut off. We're completely still and resting. And that's when the spirit can come in and actually kind of show you some things or kind of communicate with you. And a lot of it, it ties to things I'm working on at work, tied to relationships. You kind of go over things that, show you a different perspective of how you can handle this or what you can do with this scenario. And sometimes it becomes creative, but it really feels like I'm creating something new. It's more like I'm discovering something that's already there, if I would just get out of the way. So I'm already participating in something that's already moving. And if I can just basically just follow that flow, there's not as much effort. You start to see things much simpler. One of my favorite quotes from Alan Watts is, I did not come into this world, but I came out of it. And that's kind of how that feels. It just kind of comes out of me. It's not necessarily something I'm creating. It shows up. And I think that's kind of a cool way of looking at it. Or even another quote I had was, genius is 1% talent and 99% surrender. So sometimes the most beautiful things we can experience are the mysterious, where it comes from. It just comes out of nowhere, and you just kind of, you have to get out of your own way. I think that's where having this stuff happen a lot of times in the middle of the night, I'm already out of my own way, and it just comes to me. And then even first thing after I wake up and you go in, you take a shower, you're still kind of in that in-between sleep and your normal day.
And you're grounded in the shower.
Yeah, you're grounded in the shower, and you get some great insights that come out of nowhere while you're taking a shower sometimes, if you just sit and listen to your thoughts. Don't react to them, don't label them or whatever, but just listen, just watch the flow. And I've had some great ideas come through at that time too. So.
It's a great place to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the top one I have written down is those shower moments.
Yeah.
And it's because, again, you're grounded and your body is typically relaxed. You have the hot water hitting, and you let your body relax. You get you let your physical self relax enough that your mental and spirit gets to come through a little bit more, right? So yeah, shower moments was my number one place to get some inspiration and creativity to be able to flow. Meditation sometimes will give me inspiration. Brainstorming during meetings, sometimes you can get ideas that just nobody had originally in their heads, and just by sitting there and everybody thinking about stuff that just kind of, where did that thought come from? But man, that was a good one. That's fantastic. And those are my top three where we really kind of struck gold.
Well, let's say I've got a top one, and that's sleep. That seems to be something I love doing. But so sleep seems to be probably when, as I'm sleeping is weird. I whatever I'm thinking about, or maybe something I've prayed about or whatever. And it's almost like God has given me a roadmap in the most quiet point, right? I'm getting to a point where I've at least got the tools to do this in a more self-awareness way through the training we just had. But in the past, it's always been, the creativity comes while you're trying to sleep. So you're to Joel's point, you're waking up and you're like, okay, I got this. And it's weird because whatever that thing is that you're thinking about, it just seems like it flows perfectly in your thoughts, at that moment in time. So for me, I definitely my moment of awareness or whatever happens during that time.
Well, I can honestly say we would not be sitting here doing this podcast if it weren't for the fact that I had received a significant inspiration to do this work and to see it and to create it and to provide it and it definitely didn't come from me. None of this comes from me. It's not about me. It's interesting because in the wonderful podcast, the telepathy tapes, they touch on this very topic of how people get inspired. How do people that are highly creative artists, whether they're musicians or art, or whether they're doing great scientific work, or whether they're doing anything that is perceived to be highly intellectual, creative work, most every person that is known for some special thing will tell you it didn't come from them. It came to them. It came to them in a dream, came to them in just a moment of a flash. People will tell you, I received the entire thing in a download, which is exactly how the Awakening Heaven on Earth platform has come together. It all came to me in a mass of downloads. 9 books, 10 books, the podcasts, the structure of the podcasts, the nonprofit organization that's built to be in support of all this, where all of it came to me in a download. Now, I believe, just as they talked about in the telepathy tapes, that you can receive, you may be chosen by the universe to receive that. It's your free will to choose whether you take an action on it, whether you receive it and act on it. And if you choose not to act on it, the universe will find someone else that's prepared and ready, and will go and it will download to them. But as long as you are receiving, and as long as and the thing about this work is it is just flowing. It's just natural at this point because I'm doing it in a flow. It doesn't feel like work. It's not work. In fact, if I were to fight it, it would be work. Because when we talk about flow, you have to be in the flow, not going against the flow. And it'd be like swimming upstream or trying to ride a bicycle into the wind. If you've ever ridden a bicycle, you know the difference in when you're riding with the wind and when you're riding against the wind. You feel it. You can feel the resistance to it. And it really is the best way for me to describe how this entire concept of awakening heaven on earth has come together and why we're sitting here this morning having this conversation. It is exhilarating. It's exhilarating. Much larger than me, much larger than you, much larger than all of us, but beautiful. And I'm so excited that we're even sitting here talking about it. In fact, I'm going to tear up thinking about it. So in moments of stillness, can you sense an awareness that feels shared rather than isolated?
So in stillness, awareness doesn't feel owned. My thoughts feel personal, and they are. They're usually tied to my current life. But awareness feels shared. When I sit in awareness, it doesn't feel like it's just me. It's like a background field, which we all just, we just kind of appear in. We're in this field together, and we interact, and the energy moves between you and I. And when I'm aware of that awareness, I realize it's not individual. But that stillness and that silence of awareness just makes me think of be still and know, which is a super, super powerful psalm from Jewish scripture that has really really stuck in my head a lot of times. To when I'm fighting that silence and that stillness, I just keep telling myself over and over, almost as a mantra in a way, just be still and know. It's all you have to do. Easier said than done. It's simple, but it's not always easy. But it's extremely powerful when you can actually conquer that.
For me, no, I'll be honest. Not right now. Not yet. Is it something I try to feel? Yes, I try. Do I feel it? Do I feel it now? No.
That's
right. Don't try.
Don't try.
Correct. Don't try. Do. So correct. Am I trying? No. Am I going to get there? I will get there. But no, I'm not. I don't at this point. Right. And no, it's not like I'm sitting there consciously trying to feel it out. Right. I am meditating, and so my words are not correct in there. But again, I'm fairly new to all of this, right? I recently started meditating. I haven't been doing this for very long, couple months, maybe 2, right? It's not a long process for me. It's amazing what I have been feeling since I've started, though. And I'm excited in this journey, and stuff that I'm feeling is amazing. And I love doing this now. It's no longer a chore to sit and meditate, which is why I think I put it off for so long, because I saw it as a chore. So every time I sit down with myself, though, I learned something new. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So the short answer is no. No, I do not in stillness sense a shared awareness. Do I believe there is one? Yes, absolutely I do. But at this point, I don't feel it in stillness.
So, like you, I'm kind of new at the self-awareness piece of it, and new from the perspective of how important it really is, and how, I just would always think about peace, be still, and really never understood what that meant, because I'm always getting in the way of thoughts and things, and trying to drive change to, in some aspects that you never really control those aspects of change. And I think I'm learning to appreciate a whole level of awareness around that whole peace, be still learning that we all should have. And I'm still on that journey, but it's allowing me to start with the awareness of me personally, which I had not really focused on self, and allowing that to kind of be a foundational guide for, how I move forward. So yeah, I'm still on that learning curve on this, but it's a very powerful concept.
And we're all at different places in our journeys, right? And that's perfectly okay. And it's a beautiful thing. And there's something to be shared in that. So with me, it's interesting because just recently I've been doing a lot of meditation seeking guidance on big decisions with life that are, I could easily just be looking at that from my own personal perspective. But I can honestly tell you that in the quiet, what I started feeling was the energy of the people I love around me and their thoughts and feelings about what I was getting ready to make decision about and how it affects us collectively, not me individually and personally. And here I'm, I think a lot of us do make decisions or seek guidance and then make decisions with the belief that what we do really only affects us. It doesn't affect the collective, but it does. And being aware of the collective thought and feeling. And it doesn't mean I allow those energies to make the decision for me, but I have to consider that energy around me and the people that are exhibiting it. I was telling the group that I could feel I could feel being pulled because people had their own perceptions of what they wanted me to decide and do and be and where and how. And I love that. I love that because I think we all have that. That just is love for somebody, right? That they care enough to think that way. But I could feel it. And it was confusing because I'm wondering, where's this coming from? And then as I sit there quietly and realize, wait a minute, I can almost sense who the energy's coming from. But what that did was allow me to say, okay, how do I take these people that I love into consideration as I'm making this decision? And if I make this decision and I go this way, what's going to happen? If I make this decision and go that way, what's going to happen? And what is the best decision I can make for the greater? I love this term, the greater good. It's one of my favorite parts of the Harry Potter series, and Dumbledore, whose whole mantra for his life was, doing things for the greater good. And I think that greater good is that shared awareness that we have to be conscious of. We can be unconscious, and then how do we become conscious of that and allow that to be a part of our experience?
So now that you explain some of this that way, it's also an empathic feeling. So I guess I have had moments of stillness that I would attribute to just some empathic feelings, right? So nobody's talking, but I can feel how people are feeling just by the way they are acting, or not even body language. We could be sitting there, they're not showing emotions, but I know how they're feeling. So yeah, I guess I have felt this occasionally.
Well, I know through our conversations, Sherri feels this as a mother, the nurturing person, the matriarch of her family. Right, Sherri? You've expressed that you feel this energy toward you that.
Yeah, it's something that you feel like that is your purpose, right? You feel like just because of because of all the love that you have inside for your family, for your friends, for even people that you don't know, but you don't ever want to see hurt, you have this heaviness, right?
You feel it though.
You feel it.
And in times
It's
when
so-
you're sitting there quietly thinking about everything, you feel that, don't you?
Absolutely. And your mind, your mind is just really trying to meet the needs, right? And you're feeling this energy of what it is that people around you are not saying but need. And you're really trying to meet that moment. So, yeah.
I think of the concept of the auric field. We all have an aura, we all have an energy body. Your energy body is actually bigger than your physical body by a lot in some cases. Some people's auras can be really, really big, and people can feel you from a distance. Or you have that person who walks in a room and changes the whole feeling of a room. They're giving off that auric energy, and that aura can affect, and you can project that toward people, right? So this is all so cool. So that leads us into the go ahead.
You guys are working on that now in your Reiki training.
Reiki training, yep.
And all this has been scientifically proven now, and a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and basically they show the aura fields or your energy fields that you have, and how to heal them, where you have basically holes in it, and they do workshops to try to basically strengthen your aura and strengthen your energy to allow you to vibrate differently. So it's really cool how a mystic knowledge is starting to become in scientific proof as well. They're kind of telling the same story, and I love that.
Oh, it's exciting. To me, it's super exciting, the blend of these principles across all these different disciplines, which is what this whole work is really about. That's why we talk about the commonality and common threads and all the sacred text, but also the commonality and all the threads between disciplines, whether it's science, psychology, philosophy, religion. There's a common thread. It's all common.
It's a different language used to describe the same thing. The same unity, the same togetherness.
So this next question is one I really want to take some time to get into around spirit in relationship. So what shifts in your conversation or your relationships when you approach other people with the assumption that we share a deeper common ground or source?
The biggest thing in those situations, I think I said it once before when we kind of talked or touched on the same thing, is I listen differently. I try to be less defensive, less quick to label or to judge, knowing that they are coming from they have their own story, they have their own background, they have a reason for being where they are, and that allows me to kind of find a commonality between us. Have I experienced what they've experienced? Can I connect with them in that way? And the conversations that you have with them can become more about discovery than it is about being right or wrong, or good or bad, thinking I know better than them, or vice versa. Any of that. It drops the the word I'm looking for. I struggle to find that one. It basically it drops the labels, it drops the judgment a lot of times, and allows you to connect with them in a deeper way.
It kind of allows us to have no bias against them, right? It allows us to just start from a common ground.
Like they are you.
Like it helps us to start by thinking that you're talking with yourself, and it just makes it a lot easier to have a conversation with somebody. It should, at least. It breaks down those barriers right from the beginning. Have no silos, and start a conversation. It should make communication easier.
I love what you just said. And if you take the perspective that everyone you talk to, you're really just having a conversation with yourself, how would it be different? If you looked at them as though they are you and you're just talking to yourself, how would that change the conversation you're having?
You can be completely honest right from the very beginning.
But would you be loving? Would you be compassionate?
You should be.
Would you be judgmental?
You should be.
Would you be?
Yeah, you should be loving. You shouldn't be judgmental. You should be honest and loving from the very beginning. You shouldn't worry about what should I hide from this person? How should I approach this situation? Just be open, honest, loving with everybody you talk with. And wouldn't it be great if everybody was exactly the same with you? Right from the beginning. Right there is heaven on earth.
Well, I think that there is every interaction that you make within life is meant to be, you're meant to be in that moment. You're meant to be a part of that person. That person's probably meant to be a part of you at that moment. That God has placed you in this situation, in this conversation for that moment. And so I really do allow life to guide me that way. My baseline of where I start is with the understanding and awareness that we have something in common, that there is a purpose for us in our conversation. And maybe sometimes I'm not privy to that right away, but I always start knowing that I'm here in this moment because I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in that conversation. There's something I have to give, or there's something I have to receive. So I've allowed that to be kind of like that guiding piece for me. And so far, it's been very awakening. I wanted to also say, kind of on the other topic we were talking about, just feeling like you can feel the presence of other people, like you can feel the energy without, knowing that person or what that energy is. And for me, that's manifested through hugs. Like I love hugging, but sometimes people just love hugging me. And that's, it's just really good. Like I feel very united in a space where there's no perception of anything. It's just, man, they think I'm a good person, and I think equally that they're a good person too. And we're in that moment. And to me, I find that so often just, it's just a hug. And
So Sherri, you were sharing with me the other day that my granddaughters.
Oh my gosh. They're going to make me cry now.
share that story and experience you had with my granddaughters.
Yeah, it was just so awesome. So your daughter-in-law, her and I were talking, and then we got up and finished the conversation. Actually, let me back up. I came in to a very special celebration, somebody's special birthday, and the girls they just came up to me and they just gave me this hug, like, oh wow, we're so, what I mean, it was like it was so full of love. And it was so unexpected, and it was just such a moment. And then when I was about to leave, and your daughter-in-law and I were just kind of chatting, and I got up and we were about to leave, and they came over and gave me the biggest hug. Like, I'll miss you, can't wait to see you again. And that was just huge for me. It was just so pure, it was so organic, it was, I don't know, it was very moving. So I felt loved.
That's exactly.
And that's what I hope everyone feels like when you do that to someone, when you just give them a hug. And
well, it makes you wonder, most children don't see the same way we as adults see. And then we teach them to see the way we see. And sometimes I think we need to reverse that. A big part of this particular topic is about being able to look at others as you approach them beyond their outward expression. I don't want to look at them from their nationality. I don't necessarily want to look at them from their race. I don't want to look at them from their gender. I don't want to look at them from their sexual orientation. I don't want to look at them from whether they're tall or skinny or fat or small. Or the fact is that all of us are spirit. We're clear, right? We're all clear. We're all the same color. We're all the same size. We're all the same essence. We are all absolutely the same characteristics of love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, faith. All these basic characteristics are common. And being able to look beyond all those things that we see that separate us or make us appear or feel to be different, to know we're not. We're not. And that has probably been the most profound, life-changing part of this experience for me. Is those that have been around me for any time will know that my perspectives have changed dramatically, and for the better. It's the amount of love. We are love. We're all the expression of love. We are God. God is love. God is love. God is spirit. We are gods. If you look at everybody from that perspective, it will change everything. Everything. One last question here before we finish up. So, living in the spirit. It's one thing to have a head knowledge. It's another thing to have a heart knowledge and then be able to express it outwardly, because that is what changes everything, is that outward expression of the beliefs and concepts we talk about. So if I trusted that the spirit of unity is already present in every moment, what would gently change how you move or I move throughout the day?
For me, it's less urgency, less needing to prove anything, less needing to be right, more willingness to pause and kind of take a step back. That can be powerful, and I do that a lot, and it's my own thing. It's not something that is necessarily noticed, but especially when people come together, like when we get together for our watch parties and things for our fan club, I sometimes just sit back and just look at the room and I just take it all in. I just pause and I just see. It's not even necessarily about the sport we're watching. It's just the reason to get together and the energy of the room and the people in it and the shared love for one another. None of us, only you and I, Dad, I think we're actual Bayern Munich fans to start with, and now we've made fans of it. And I don't even know if it's that they're truly that interested in the team all the time. It's just they just love getting together and spending time with us when we all get together. Just take that step back and live in that moment. And I think that's, for me, it's trying to find as much as possible throughout the day a chance to pause and just sit in the moment, because all moments are sacred, which is what we talked about. The power of now is heaven, and we distract ourselves from being in that heaven with our minds, with everything that we can do to distract us. But I like to try to pause, relax, and just take it all in, good and bad. You have to learn how to sit in those moments, even when things aren't as you want it to be, but it's still a sacred moment. And to me, that's living in that spirit of unity and that spirit of life.
As you described that experience we have when we get together as a collective, whatever the primary reason you come together is, if it's built on love and if it's built on relationship, if it's built on, then the Spirit of God is in it. It doesn't have to be in a specific location. It doesn't have to be with a specific name. It doesn't have to be with, we've talked in the past about a concept that really resonates with you and I called pub theology.
Right.
Created by, some folks out in Seattle. They'd get together at a brewery or a local pub, and they'd sit around and have a few beers and talk about life and things that were important to them. They may have a topic that day. They may not. It just may be organic. But to them, that was what they perceived to be church, in a way.
Yeah.
Assembly. They're assembling together, sharing common spirit, maybe having a spirit, right, as they do it. And yet people would dismiss that as being valid because it's not being done according to some dogmatic, religious description or definition. And then they start judging. That's wrong. This is right. That's good. This is bad. Sorry. But if it's built on love, God is love and God is present. We're all breathing. God is in us. Where two or three are gathered, then
I'm there in the midst.
There he is, right there in the midst among us.
So for me, I agree with everything you guys just said 100%. Over the last couple of weeks here, I've kind of made it a goal for myself to raise the vibration level around me every day, however I can, be it in my own house, be it online, be it at work, be it at the grocery store. If I can make someone smile, if I can make someone laugh, if I can do anything at all to make a bad situation better, I don't have to change the world. I'm just trying to make somebody happier, better, however that happens, right? If I can send a good email, if I can, I'm at the grocery store, do a good deed, whatever that looks like, right? Even myself, if I can just do something to change a bad situation into better, that's what I try to do. And I try to do at least something good every single day. And I'm just going to try to keep doing more and more of that. Doing my own part, whatever that looks like. I think that living in the Spirit, I think that's what that means to me. I really liked what you said there, Joel, about taking more time to just stop and realize where you are and what is going on, and to feel the Spirit around me in general, right? Because that's what I don't take enough time to do, and just to be aware. So while I am working on my self-awareness, I also want to stop and be more aware of this spiritual awareness that is always around. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna start trying to add as well into my routine, my daily practice, my daily awareness, and just always awareness, right?
Well, I like how you state that. It's a daily practice. It's something you have to get consciously, not unconsciously. You consciously practice every day. What you've described is expressing what you're feeling inwardly, outwardly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the law of correspondence. As within, so without. It's difficult to see it without if you can't feel or sense it within. So the inner work goes first. That leads to the outward expression around you. That's beautiful.
I guess for me, it's all about balance. I'm in the season of balance. Balance seems to be the message that God is bringing me both in my personal life, my professional life. You know, I think that it's important for everyone to really take an opportunity to look at things in your life and make sure you have the right balance. I found myself picking up things that God probably didn't have for me to do because He's got that. But I'm trying to pick it up because I think I'm able to do more than God can do because I'm thinking He told me to do this, right? But really, that's not the purpose. Life is so precious. Um, you're living in the seasons, and just to understand what's most important in those seasons. For me to my aunt turned 88. In this footprint, I haven't seen her for about 6 years, 7 years. Because you're balancing things and not necessarily all the right things. You feel like you've got so much in that space that you're trying to tackle. Goes back to those shoulders, right? Feeling like I've got to, you know, to have everything on my shoulders. And really I just need to balance the things that are most important. And so my reflection is just working more on just balancing those things, understanding the seasons that I'm in. And honestly, just continue to give more hugs because I think that, hey, what's in me is some good stuff. And I want that energy to be a part, continue to be a part of how I guide my life. So
That's awesome. So, my biggest desire is to move from being reactive to responsive with people. Reaction happens when you don't stop and think in that space between a stimulus and a response. If you just react and you allow it to just happen without stopping yourself, sometimes you're going to say something or do something that's not appropriate given that circumstance. And you don't make things better when you do that. And a lot of times you're reacting to another person or situation, the outward things you see, not the inward element of that person. And if you'll just stop for a second and change the way you're looking at it and process and reason that there's a reason this person is doing this, or there's a reason this person is saying this. I know in the core of who they are, that's not what they would do or how they would talk or what they would say. So what is it within them, and how can I become compassionate and respond appropriately? I think that would change the whole dynamic of not just individual relationships, interpersonal relationships, but the collective relationships. We do this as individuals. We do this as family. We do this as governments. We do this as businesses. We do this as this whole concept drives competition, not collaboration or cooperation. There's all kinds of reasons why. Scarcity mindset. Well, we want something because we don't have it. They have it. I don't think I can get it and have it, and they can have it too. Well, we can all have it. There's an abundance. Stop, when you reason that way and look at the circumstances, I think it changes just about everything.
I think what you're saying there is powerful. What you're talking about is basically being the difference between being reactive and responsive is essentially when you're reactive, all that is programming and conditioning from your past. You're responding based on how you were taught. If you allow it to pause for a moment and think through it, you can change how you see something or see someone or how you react to somebody. That's the difference between a child and us now. The child, their initial reaction comes from a place of purity and love. So their reaction and their response is going to be from that space. When we basically teach them differently and condition them and program them differently, now they're going to react the way we taught them. And that's not always a place of love. It's not always a place of not being judgmental. And that's extremely powerful when you think of it that way. So what we're having to do now as adults, and this is, good work. Basically, we have to unlearn what we've learned.
Correct.
And in order to basically have a situation where our reaction is actually matching our response, the way we want to respond, we have to do the inner work to basically unlearn what we've been taught and get back to being a child.
The inner child. It's a lifetime of work. A lifetime of work. Well, we have to bring this conversation to a close. It's not done. There's much more to consider, much more to reflect on. But I do want to just pause and say something really simple. The spirit of unity does not demand agreement. It doesn't demand or require sameness or belief even. It just invites awareness, being aware. The spirit of unity is present in breath, in listening, in kindness, in sharing silence. So Joel, Joe, Sherri, as always, thank you for your honest presence with me here and all the value you bring to this space between. It's for those that are listening, I hope this conversation invited you just for even a moment to find a deeper awareness or a shared connection. And if that happened, then we're going to let that be enough. The spirit of unity may be quieter than we expect, but it is never far from us. And with that, the space between continues. As we come to a close, remember that this journey continues in many expressions. This podcast is part of a family of partner podcasts. Awakening Heaven on Earth. The space between heaven and earth and Living Heaven on Earth are 3 companion podcasts exploring spiritual awakening from complementary perspectives. Awakening Heaven on Earth offers the core teachings and mystical reflections on unity, love, and conscious living. The space between creates room for dialogue, reflection, and lived conversation around those teachings. Living Heaven on Earth focuses on basic spiritual practices that help embody these insights in daily life. Together, they form a unified journey of understanding, experience, and integration, inviting listeners to remember their connection with the divine, with one another, and with the living world. You can find all of them available on the same podcast streaming platforms wherever you listen. And if music helps carry these teachings deeper into the heart, the Unity, Awakening Heaven on Earth album is available on all major music streaming services as a musical companion to this journey. Wherever you engage, through listening, reflection, conversation, or music, may it gently remind you you are not separate. You belong to the one life. And heaven is already unfolding within you. Until next time, walk gently, love deeply, and embody heaven on earth.